What's good, everybody? This is your Cosmic Homegirl, and I am doing a very special video with a very special guest today. You guys have seen him on my channel before. We have covered some of your favorite rappers, our favorite rappers, the classic rappers that really made an impact, in our worlds and stuff. We've covered a couple of them together. So we're doing another one today. As I'm recording this is May 21st, which is Biggie's birthday, Notorious B.I.G, Big Papa, whatever you want to call him. All right, so I have my Astro homie Darren in the house. Say what's up.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
So Darren is he's an astrologer who's very brilliant. You may have seen him around, in the little astro community or whatever. He's on he's on another channel. He's on Astrolotta as well. So he's Astrolotta homie as
Yeah.
well. And yeah, we just, we have some really dope conversations all the time about artists and pop culture and astrology and everything. So we had to come back and do another one. We've actually been planning this one for how long?
Like
Like
2 years.
something like that, like 2 years, because we've done Tupac's chart, we've done Easy E's chart. So we still have Biggie's chart to do. So yeah, we're gonna talk about Biggie. We're gonna look at his chart, look at his life, his personality, I'll spill all the tea on the relationships that he has. You guys know I will cover that. And we'll just talk about his unfortunate passing. We're going to look at the transits and all that stuff, to just show you guys how astrology works, how it applies to real motherfucking life. Okay. It's not just, oh, I'm a Leo. Am I compatible with a Capricorn? It's not just that. It's like, yo, your relationships, your money, how you look, when shit happens to you, this major why, what's happening in the sky, like that's what we're going to talk about. But we're going to look at Biggie's chart. But yeah, first of all, we are both fans of Biggie. I don't have a Biggie shirt actually, and I have a Biggie mask because this is 2021 and we have to rock the stupid ass face mask. So, I got to make it fashionable. So I have a Biggie mask. I don't know where it's at. I think I let my son wear it to school, so he could be cool or whatever. So I don't know where it is, but Darren has a Biggie shirt.
Yep, that's right.
Lost it, yeah.
Yep.
So we are both fans of Biggie. What is your favorite Biggie song or lyric or anything of his?
I have so many. I had to write them down because it was a lot. I couldn't even choose, but I like Get Money. Typical Taurus, right? Yeah, and I also like a song that really wasn't his. It was by Toto, but he was featured in it. Can't You See?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. Going back to Cali, Big Papa, Juicy, all the classics, Hypnotize. I love all of it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So as always, I have to be a Uranian hipster weirdo and say that yeah, some of the classics are my favorites too that are, popular on the radio and all that stuff, but one of my favorite Biggie songs is Me and My Bitch.
Oh,
Me and
really?
My Bitch off of the Show soundtrack. So a lot of people will be like, "Huh, what? I didn't hear that on the radio." No, the fuck you didn't, because it's called Me and My Bitch. So it's off the show, the soundtrack to this movie documentary, hip hop documentary called The Show that came out sometime in the 90s. And they had a really dope soundtrack.
Mhm.
And so Me and My Bitch was one of them. And then also, man, there's so many Biggie songs that are my favorite, but I love the one that he did, Notorious Thugs with Bone.
Oh yeah, I like that one too.
Yes,
One
that
of
one you
my
gotta turn up
favorites.
hella loud. And then also, yeah, that one that he did with Bone is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And Give Me the Loot.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
Hey, another Taurus jam.
Yep.
Loot.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I guess we could just, for people that don't know us, it might stumble across this video. We can like tell everybody our big three in our charts. Because we keep saying, yeah, Taurus this, Taurus that. So I'm a
Right.
Taurus sun, Pisces moon, and Scorpio rising, but I also have Venus, Mars, Mercury, all in Taurus. So any songs about money are my motherfucking jam.
Yeah. Same here. My top three, I'm a Sun Taurus, Moon Gemini, and Leo rising.
Word up.
Yep.
Okay, so we are gonna dive into Biggie's chart. Just we're gonna start off talking about a few things about his personality. Excuse me, and where you see it. You know, what's Biggie's big three? Like, what makes him who he is? Um, excuse me. I'm sure I share the right screen, so I'll just fire off a few things, and then Darren will screen share and fire off a few things. We have like different techniques that we use, and you know, different perspectives on stuff. So okay, is this
All
sharing
right.
properly? Can you see it?
Yep. I see everything.
Wait, everything.
No,
Hold on.
not everything.
I was gonna say, you see my
Your bank
desktop?
account? Yes. No, I'm playing.
What? No, you see my desktop?
Your desktop? No. Mm-mm.
Okay. You know, my Scorpio mind wants to know.
Yeah, I see her freaky photos, you guys. No.
Oh hell no! That's what I was wondering.
Just kidding.
No, Scorpios don't want you to see shit about us, okay? Even if
I
it's
know, right?
corny ass like meme or something, I don't want you to see that. So anyway, you weren't invited, so no. All right, so here is Biggie's chart. Now, I look at both the traditional, you know, the Placidus chart based on the exact birth time, exact house cusp. I look at that, but I also side by side, I look at the whole sign chart, which is the natural order of the zodiac. And sometimes the houses may be different, but and the planets will land in different houses in each chart. But hey, they still both apply according to, you know, my observations and studies and stuff like that. So, whichever one you look at, Biggie Smalls is listed as a Pisces rising. Okay. So, we do have a birth time here, which is 2:19 a.m. I did find it on Astro Theme. Astrotheme.com does, you know what? I may have to just not have the aesthetics be that great and have a mic right here because I don't want to shout. I don't want to strain my throat. But so astrotheme.com, if you want to look up celebrity charts, then that is a good website. But a lot of times you have to look at the source. Like, where do they, if they have an ascendant, you know, they have a birth time, where they get it from. You know, to see if it's janky or not. So I always tend to research and investigate that. So yeah, they actually had the source of his birth time, which was lyrics to a song. They got it from one of his own songs. Excuse me. It says, you know, then came the worst date, May 21st, 2:19. That's when my mama water burst. Okay. So he was talking about when he was born, the date and the time. So that's how they got this. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, he's a Pisces rising. Everybody knows he's a Gemini sun. Geminis are the lyricists of the zodiac, but he's also a Virgo moon. The moon is also associated with the mind. Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. So rapping and speaking and thinking, that's all Mercury ruled. So he's got 2 Mercury ruled signs in his big 3. Okay. So that's what makes him a dope rapper. That's why he got into rapping. But also when we look at his whole sign chart, his Mercury and Taurus lands in the 3rd house. 3rd house energy, Mercury energy, they're, you know, related to each other. The 3rd house is communication, Mercury's communication. So if anybody is a fan of like rap and hip hop and stuff, you know that people who are lyricists, you'll see that they have a very strong Mercury placement or stuff in the sign ruled by Mercury. So that's the whole rapping thing for me, from what I see, why he's so attracted to rapping, why he's good at being a wordsmith. Geminis and Virgos are the wordsmiths. So also why he has a career in music, from what I see. Why he ended up being on that path, well, he's got in his whole sign chart, he has Neptune in the 10th house. Neptune rules music. It's one of the rulers of music. It's in the 10th house of career. And it's in a conjunction with his part of fortune. Part of fortune is one of the placements that can show career and success potential in your chart too. So he's
Hmm.
got Neptune, the ruler of music, conjoined to his part of fortune. So there you go. His fortune is found within music, right?
Yeah.
So that's one career thing for him. Now also, so Biggie started off as someone who ran the streets. He was a drug dealer. He liked to hang out in the neighborhood, hang out on the corner, hang out on the stoop, and all of that stuff. The reason
Yep.
why, the reason why is because he has all these planets in the third house, the fourth house, in Gemini, and in Cancer. So Gemini and the third house, they rule the neighborhood around the way. I always say third house is around the way.
Hmm.
People who have these energies, they don't like to travel too far outside of their hometown, their neighborhood, their house. Even like Cancer is the house, you know, being at
Hmm.
home, being with your family, being with your mommy, being very attached to your mother is Cancer. So we all see that Biggie has that in his personality. He was very close with his mom. He didn't always obey her, but
Hmm.
you know, he was definitely a mama's boy. And we could see that with him having the sun in the whole sign fourth house and having Venus and Mars in Cancer, the sign that rules mothers and you know stuff like that. But also in his Placidus chart, his Venus and Mars in Cancer are in the fourth house. Fourth house and Cancer, they rule the same shit. So he's basically like very Cancerian in nature. um why he was all about like running the streets as a and doing business on the streets, I say it's because he has the sun and Saturn together in Gemini in general, but also the third house in this chart. Saturn rules business and being a boss, you know. So he has the sun and Saturn together. He wanted to be a boss in some sort of way around the way in his neighborhood where he grew up in his city. Like I said, people with a lot of their personal planets here at the bottom like this in these houses, they usually are the ones that like they'll always and forever stay in their hometown. They'll always stay in the same neighborhood, even in the same house, you know, stay at home with their mom even when they're adults, or buy their mama's house when she passes on, and like I gotta keep my mama house. Like that's
Right.
all third house and Cancer shit right there. So yeah, that's why he loved to represent where he was from. That's why a lot of rappers in general I find have a combination of Gemini and Cancer energy, especially the ones that are maybe like gangster rappers, or they're just ones that really like to represent. I represent my city and all that shit, you know, where I'm
Yeah.
from and my hometown, Brooklyn in the house and all that. It's Gemini, the neighborhood, and Cancer, the home, the hometown roots, you know. So that's why a lot of rappers are like that. So Biggie was no different. Um another something else, yeah. So he's a mama's boy, right? And he's also very much a ladies man. And Darren has some really good shit that he's gonna get to in a second about how he's a lady, because it's like, okay, not to be superficial, but a lot of people are gonna superficially look at Biggie and be like, really, how did
Right.
you get all these ladies? You know, he's a big guy and he's not traditionally the ideal what's considered handsome man by, you know,
By
regular
most. Yeah.
standards, you know. So it's
Hmm.
like, how I just, you know, I see because he has Venus and Mars together, and that's masculine and feminine energy together. It's very passionate, it's very romantic. It's in the sign of Cancer. Cancers are emotional, they're lovers. So when he was connected to any females, you know, in his life, I'm sure he was a very passionate and romantic lover, very attentive. Cancer energy is very attentive. They pay attention to your needs and stuff, you know, they're not selfish. Even with intimacy, they tend to not be selfish. They're very giving. So that's appealing to the ladies. And Cancer energy is feminine energy, so he just is not saying Biggie was like femme or anything, you know, like it's saying he knows how to cater to feminine energy because he has it himself. And
Yeah.
then when we look at the whole sign chart, his Venus and Mars are in the fifth house of romance. Hello.
Oh.
Romantico. So yeah, he's a romantic dude, you know? He knows how he just knew how to cater to the ladies. So despite his physical appearance not being traditionally handsome or whatever by US standards at least, um
Yeah.
he could still pull him, man. He was still pulling him, you know, and they were like, "Oh, he was the best I ever had," and stuff like that. That's why that Venus and Mars in Cancer. Darren and I were talking earlier about how Easy E has Venus and Mars in Cancer too,
Yeah.
and he was very short. And usually women are hella judgmental against dudes who are hella short. Oh, just throw the whole man away if he's 5 foot anything. And you know how a lot of women make comments like that. Okay. But Easy E was like what, 5'1", 5'2" or something, you know, or somewhere around there. He was really short, but he could still pull him though. He could still pull him. A lot of women were like, hey, because he had that Venus and Mars in Cancer. And I think one of them landed like right in his fifth house or something like that too. So that's that appeal. It didn't matter. And it wasn't just that, you know, they were rappers. Um, it's that energy that they give off, you know, that's appealing and stuff like that. Um, a couple other things, and then I'm gonna pass the mic. So a couple things about Biggie's personality that people would probably, if they didn't watch interviews by him or people that knew him closely, they wouldn't really know just based on, oh, you know, listening to his songs and stuff. He said himself he's a pretty quiet dude. He's very quiet and he's shy. So that's because he has a combination of Cancer, or I'm sorry, Pisces, Taurus, and Cancer and Virgo energies. Those are all feminine energies. They're all like
Yeah.
earth and water. They're very subtle and chill. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't they don't like to rock the boat too much. He could be rah, you know. He can present himself like that at times. That Gemini likes to talk and, you know, his stuff being in the fifth house traditionally is out there too. And then he has the south node in the fifth house, so his soul comes from fifth house things like that are Leo, like, you know, putting yourself out there, bragging, being flashy, having jewelry and all this stuff. But he has so much feminine feminine, was it element or modality, or I forgot.
Feminine signs like planets
Yeah,
and
the
suns.
feminine signs. Yeah, he
Yeah.
he has more of an abundance of that energy, which made him more chill, quiet, you know, shy and stuff like that. And he, even though he's a rapper, he really liked he said he mostly didn't listen to rap. He mostly listened to like R&B and old school music and slow jams and stuff. That was more his thing. And it's because he has the feminine signs very dominant in his chart. And I listened to an interview with Lil Kim, and she was saying how he liked his, like, he could really sing. Like he had a good singing voice. He just didn't like do anything with it publicly very much. But
Yeah.
behind the scenes, you know, they're like he could sing, and that he loved to sing like Jodeci songs. And
Ah, okay.
yeah, in that Netflix Biggie documentary, they even show a clip of him singing.
I think I saw that. I watched that same Netflix documentary.
Oh, you did? Yeah,
Yeah, I
you see
did.
that clip that he was singing Jodeci?
Yep.
Yeah, so he, and they were like, yeah, he can actually really sing. And Biggie used to study like jazz under this musician that lived in his neighborhood. So he was into like jazz music. His mom rocked out to country music. So he was like, oh, I can't go to sleep without listening to country music, you know? My mama's music, of course, being a Cancer. But mama said, listen to country. So yeah, because he in his Pisces rising, Pisces is one of the signs that rules music and just really like usually Pisces could be very diverse with the music that they like. They
Hmm.
just love the flow of music. So yeah, he was really into different music, not just a hardcore hip hop shit, you know? And he could actually sing, and his singing was probably because he has Mercury in Taurus. Taurus rules the voice.
Yeah.
And his in this chart his Mercury's in the second house, which also rules the voice. You know, so people who have not everybody that has Taurus planets have a nice voice or can sing really well. But second house, yeah, a lot of second housers, if you have second house and Taurus, yeah, you probably have some sort of gift with your voice. Either you could sing well, or people say, "Oh, you have a very nice voice. You have a very pleasant voice," and stuff like that. So, that's where he got his singing from. And his the tone of his voice being very deep like that,
Hmm.
I would attribute to him having Mercury and Taurus in the
Taurus,
second
yeah.
house. Yeah, Taurus tends to have more of a like a deeper voice, more
Just the heaviness when they have a lot of earth placements.
yeah, a
Like
heavy,
on the
yeah.
ground, like you could feel it, it's solid, it's has substance.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where his tone of voice comes from when he raps. He does have a moon in Virgo, so he can go up to falsetto. Like what's that song he did with Little Kim where
Oh,
he was singing off key? There's a couple of them where he's like, I
I can't
need
remember.
another bitch. Another bitch. Now that was not his Mercury in Taurus. That was not the skills that placement can flex. That was
You
him
had
being
bad transit that day.
that, yeah, probably. I think that was just him being goofy. Like Gemini energy is real goofy.
Yeah.
Cancer could be goofy, and his moon in Virgo. Virgos are so goofy, like goofy AF. So, and Virgo energy, their voices tend to go higher, can go into higher pitched tones and even falsettos. So, and there was another song like where he was like singing off key. Gosh, I can't remember which one it is, but there's a couple of them like that. And that I would say that's his Virgo moon able to go to the higher octave, is it called? With his
Yeah.
voice, but
Uh-huh.
but his Taurus Mercury, that's that really deep earthiness of his voice though as a rapper.
Hmm.
And you know, Biggie was actually like a very peaceful person. When he had that beef go down with Tupac, anytime he was in interviews about the whole thing, after Tupac got shot at least, he was
Hmm.
like, nah, to me there wasn't any beef. And I just want to squash the whole East Coast West Coast thing. Like I don't want it to
Yeah.
be a thing. He wasn't like, rah, rah, let's fucking fight. You know, it was like, nah, I don't think this should be a thing. And I think it's really sad. And, you know, I just wanted to stop. He was very peaceful, and that's also attributed to all his feminine
Yeah.
sign energies. And then especially his moon is in the seventh house of compromising. Um, seventh house energy, Libra energy fucking hates conflict and people fighting. They don't like to fight, you know, like it's like he's not a bitch. Like he would fight if he had to and stuff like that. But in the end, like your moon is your comfort zone. And if it's in the seventh house, you really just want peace. You don't care for all that rah, 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 stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So he really wanted peace in that whole situation. And then Pisces just like to float and fucking coast along. Like
Um,
just leave us alone to coast in the ocean with a
Smoke a joint every now and then.
yeah, be out on our invisible boat with a joint and a drink. Like, you know, that's how Pisces rolls. And so he was a peaceful person. He wasn't like, yeah, we're gonna fuck up the West Coast. Oh. I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna show, I'm gonna show love over there. Unfortunately, that led to his demise, but his
Yeah.
demeanor was very peaceful. Um, the last thing I'm gonna mention, and then I'm gonna pass the mic, is well, his Pisces energy. Also, he said himself he was good at drawing. Like Pisces are really good artists,
No.
all well-rounded artists usually. So he used to like to draw, and he said like his teachers would say, "Oh, when why don't you try to be an artist? Like do something with your drawing skills." But his Sun and Saturn. together, and then he has Jupiter and Capricorn in the 10th house. He has a hella like businessman energy. So he was like, nah, I can't really see myself making money off of that. You know, I can't realistically make money off of drawing. So back to the streets.
Yep.
Back to the
Yep.
hustle, to the grind, and then eventually, through music. But I'm gonna talk about one placement I noticed with his appearance, and then Darren has some really dope stuff about appearance. But
Mhm.
I attribute him being tall. Like he's listed as being 6'3", which is pretty
Yeah.
tall. Him having the Sun and Saturn together could possibly contribute to his height, but it's at the bottom of his chart, so I'm really iffy about that. But Saturn is like big boss energy, so sometimes when people have a strong Saturn placement somewhere, they can be taller and have a presence. People said he had a presence to him, like a that just demands your respect when he
Mhm.
walks in. And that part of it was his height, and his build. But the ruler of his ascendant, well, there's two with Pisces. It's Neptune and it's Jupiter.
Yeah.
And in either house system you look at, he has the ruler of the first house of the body in the 10th house. 10th house, anything, I notice when people have that rulership, or they have like the sun in the 10th, certain things up here at the top of the chart, they tend to be taller in stature. Those can make tall people. So yeah, Pisces rising, you would think, oh, this little fishy or little nymph or fairy or something, but
Mhm.
so how is he so huge if he's a Pisces rising? Well, you know,
Right.
the rulerships, they tell a lot more of the story. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are just a few personality and appearance things I wanted to touch on. So um I will pass the mic and stop the screen share. So what you got? What you got? What you got?
All right, let me share my screen. All right. Gonna use my software here.
Aw shit, getting fancy, getting
Right.
professional.
Yep. All right. So I'm gonna start off by talking about uh his ascendant. So let me gather my notes because I actually wrote a lot about his ascendant ruler. So, like April said, Pisces is traditionally ruled by Jupiter. We were talking about height, and his ascendant ruler being Jupiter is in Capricorn. I think we discussed Capricorn can be typically tall,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. But also, Capricorn is also ruled by certain colors, like certain tones, like a dark gray or the color black. And he is a very dark skinned man. So it doesn't mean that everybody who has this, they're going to be dark. Like maybe if somebody is a different race, they may have dark roots, like black hair. But Capricorn does rule the color black. And his planet is retrograde. So when a person, if your ascendant ruling planet is retrograde, then in terms of the looks, you emphasize more of that planet because uh, when a planet is retrograde, it appears to be moving backwards. And observationally speaking, it moves backwards, even though in real life it's standing still. It's also closer to the Earth. So the energy of that planet is more so, it's like double. And as far as the weight is concerned, Jupiter does rule abundance, and it's making oppositions to Mars and Venus. So Mars rules the second house, and the second house is a house of wealth and food and resources, and it's in conjunction with Venus. So when your second lord is with Venus, a person can have a tendency to want to indulge in sweets. Or Mars and Venus in conjunction, they could also be very active and aggressive, or recklessly have eating habits like indulgence or sweets or anything to do with pleasure in life, because Mars doesn't have any patience. It's a sign of a planet of impatience. So they go after whatever they want. Because it's in conjunction with Venus, they may tend to indulge in sweet things. especially because it rules the second house, simultaneously opposing his debilitated Jupiter, its retrograde, and it's his ascendant ruler, which is affecting his whole entire body. Now, I also want to talk about how Jupiter, let me see. Uh, so, yeah, the ascendant ruler also talks about where you're headed in life. So, his life focus would to be attain profits and money and earnings, and his whole life was really focused on those kind of things, like wanting to create wealth for himself. But because it's debilitated, they would, if a planet is debilitated, their approach to things would be considered to be undignified. So his ways of getting money would be considered quote unquote undignified, like selling drugs. And also, this can contribute to having not so great relationships with teachers. Um, and I also wanted to talk about uh, yogas too. Remember, April, we were talking about yogas. So, what a yoga is when you're combining house lords. So, Jupiter rules houses 10 and 1. So, we're talking about career, we're talking about public reputation, and they're making oppositions to Mars and Venus. So Mars rules the second house. So we're talking about using your voice for his career. And Mars rules the ninth house. So this is what they would call a Raj Yoga. A Raj Yoga means that you live like a king, or that you could be financially successful if you do something that you really enjoy doing, because you're blending uh, angular houses. So Jupiter rules two angular houses, which makes it very action oriented. And when you're blending your actions regarding your gifts and your talents, then it makes it easier for you to follow, to have a life path where you could have a career that you actually enjoy doing, and be wealthy from it. So Raj Yogas do get formed by two planets that rule a trinal house, which is the ninth house or the fifth house, simultaneously aspecting or conjuncting houses that rule an angle. In his case, Jupiter rules two angles, 1 and 10. So this has a lot to do with his body, his life path, and his career and reputation. And they're all influencing Mars and Venus, which can contribute to talent, music, arts. And the fifth house is creativity. Venus is all about pleasure, beauty, the arts as well. So it's a lot of things contribute to creativity and the arts. And they consider it to be a royal union. So you live like a lavish life, especially when there's no blemishes. But again, these planets are debilitated. So the way he started out trying to live a luxurious life was through undignified ways like selling drugs. But the whole drug thing is like, you know, something else too. Would you say, April, when it comes to drugs, would you look at sixth house or 12th house or Neptune?
I would look at Neptune and the fact that he is a Pisces rising and then he's a
Hmm.
sun opposing Neptune.
Hmm.
He's got, I always look at Neptunian energy. So
Yeah.
either have, if they have stuff in Pisces or 12th house or Neptune heavy.
Yeah.
That's what I look at.
Oh, okay. So yeah, and speaking of Neptune, so Neptune is in the 10th house, and the reason why we associate Neptune with drugs sometimes is because Neptune represents things that take you out of this world. Like if you take a certain drug, it'll take your mind to a place that takes you away from reality, like escapism. And it's opposing his sun, which also can contribute to one's career or your leadership skills, like how you take charge or how you run the show or whatever. And Sun does rule the sixth house, which also indicates drugs. And then it's in conjunction with Saturn, and Saturn does rule the 11th, which is again a wealth oriented uh, house. So you got the rule of the 11th with the Sun. So when it comes to work and profits and gains, it would be related to drugs to provide for his home and his family. At least that's how it started off. And these are tough conjunctions to have. Like houses like 6, 12, those are like difficult houses. So this was, I would probably say, the rough part of his life. Um, and even the relationship that he had with his parents were kind of his mother was a disciplinarian. And when Sun is in the fourth house in conjunction with Saturn, there's usually some kind of vague, distant relationship with the father, and his father wasn't in his life. And the mother usually has to take on the fatherly role, and the fourth house rules the mother. And also a disciplinarian too, because Saturn represents discipline and structure. And it is in Gemini. I do know that she was a preschool teacher. So there is something going on with language and words that he may have inherited, but he expressed it in a more artsy, creative way, especially with Mercury being in Taurus, which is a little bit more creative and artsy and more finance focused, like focusing on trying to make money out of it. And let's see, what else did I want to say? See, I think that I pretty much said everything. Uh, I do like what you said about the moon, how he's like a nurturing person, like when it comes to relationship, not wanting to argue, or somebody who doesn't like to be in beefs a lot.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to show you this too, because we were also talking about femininity.
What you got?
You see? So, like, this is like a little weighting scale that tells you how many points you score in certain modalities or elements. So, he scores like 11 points in cardinal, 3 points in fixed, and 16 in mutable. So he's like very, very smart. That's another thing I forgot to mention. He's extremely intelligent too. And then he's got 1 point in fire, 11 points in earth, 7 in air, and 11 in water. So the feminine signs are earth and water. So if you add the points of earth and water, he scores a 22. That's a lot of water. I mean, that's a lot of feminine energy.
Yep.
That's why he's so like chill and laid back. And this is why it's important to really look at your chart as like a big bowl of soup with a bunch of different ingredients, because like if you were to just judge the fact that he's a Gemini, you can't assume that he's going to be, jabberjaws and talking all the time. Like he's very chill and kind of like slow, and he is creative with his words, like extremely smart and intellectual, got good grades, but he has Saturn there slowing things down, bringing a sense of order and structure. Then his Mercury is in Taurus, but it's in a house that represents communication. So he's very, very intellectual. There's no afflictions to the Mercury. He's got great trine aspects. Mercury's intelligence. You got Jupiter that rules higher knowledge, higher wisdom, beautifully aspecting it. And also with Mars being traditionally ruled by Scorpio, which is his ninth house. Ninth house is also a house of education and wisdom. And then Jupiter is aspecting it. And again, Jupiter always amplifies everything that it touches in a more graceful, dignified way. But still having bad relationship with teachers, a debilitated Jupiter, which represents your gurus, your teachers, your mentors. Same thing with the ninth house, they have the same meaning, and they're both planets are debilitated. So he may have been smart, but he was also somebody who quit school
Yeah.
because he could see that, because Mars rules the second house too, which is about wealth and financial security. So he was smart, but a smart ass too when it comes to teachers. Like, why would I want to do that when I could be a trash man making more money and I don't even have to go to school? So, so it's just kind of like, yeah, he has this beautiful Raj yoga, but they're debilitated. So that's what makes this chart interesting and funny to me. Here's this guy who is really overweight, um, classically not attractive, I guess you could say, but still able to get what he wants when it comes to money and women, and um, being lucky with women, because Jupiter represents luck, and Jupiter opposing Venus could, a person could be lucky when it comes to meeting women all the time. And And even his style of his art and music and creativity, it has a lot of um, I don't know the right word, but it was always on the subject of death and rebirth, like his album Ready to Die or Life After Death. Venus does rule the eighth house Libra too. So when it comes to eighth house is a house of trauma or crisis or life after death or one's longevity, or his songs were always about that or about suicide and things of that sort. And Uranus is aspecting it too. So when you think of Uranus, I think of someone, keywords that could come to your mind are like defiance or being revolutionary or emancipation or being reckless and disruptive and not being loyal to the women that he's with. Brings like non-committal energy, like doing whatever you want, and to also bring a lot of individuality. Uranus likes to individuate things. So he was very unique and original in his music and his art, and it wasn't always. Um, it didn't always have a street sound. A lot of his songs have a little bit of a R&B sound to it as well. So yeah, that's I think that's everything. Yeah. I hope I didn't talk too much.
Nah, I think I talked a little more than you.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's all good.
Uh, oh, can I mention the nodes? I forgot to mention the nodes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, what was I gonna say about that? I hope I can find it. I wrote it down somewhere, but oh my gosh, I wanted to tell you guys, but I guess I'll just freestyle it. I wanted to read what I had, but um, the nodes are pretty karmic too. So with the south node being in the fifth house, it does show like past life things or past life karmas or whatever. And it's in Cancer, which is like a sign of hominess or whatever. But the North Node is kind of like the area of your life that we need to learn to master and achieve. And Capricorn is very conscious of the practical things in life rather than being concerned about the emotional aspects of her life. So being practical when it comes to money, like even at a very, very young age, like trying to sell drugs at 12 years old, like he was always thinking about money. It's like, I need to be profitable. Like I can't live like this, struggling. And, he does have Saturn in the fourth house. So people have Saturn in the fourth, they can't, their household is usually like always a struggle or you got to pay rent and a sense of responsibility too. Like, taking responsibility and maturity when it comes to providing for his home and his family. So he's very grown and mature that way at a young age. But Rahu in the 11th is like saying like, I'm hungry for this. Like I need to be mature and be successful financially. Like I have to make money. I have to. And even in his ways with his romantic life, like, yeah, he was all romantic and passionate and loving with his Venus Cancer stuff. But there were also moments where he would treat his women like business partners, or even telling Lil Kim, like, you are my business partner, you're my artist. It may have hurt her feelings because she's got a lot of cancer stuff too. But he has the South Node in Cancer. That's not his ultimate concern. It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I already mastered that. I'm trying to be more business minded. I need to be more practical. And Earth signs can be kind of cold like that, like dismissive of the feelings and being more concerned about what needs to be done, what needs to be fixed. Like, stop crying. We need to handle this and this and this and that. And you can see patterns like that with the house lord too. Like your approach to relationships are planets in the seventh house and the ruling planet of the seventh house. So his seventh house ruling planet is in the third. So you're like an ultra business minded person because both houses are related to business. Third house is about being entrepreneur and self efforts. And seventh house is about business and trade. It's not just relationship. It's also about your business partners, like business and trade. So his thinking pattern when it comes to relationships and love is also very business oriented and collaborating with each other, working together, and all in earth signs. So his mind and thinking pattern was very, very practical. His moon is ruled by the fifth because the moon is ruled by Cancer. So he's still implementing love and romance in his relationship, but it's moon and Virgo. So there is still a balance of, yeah, I can be loving and romantic, but I'm still practical with you in this relationship. Like there's still practical things that need to be done and taken care of. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Dope. Yeah. Um the South Node stuff is very very interesting. Very
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
yeah.
It's in Cancer, so
Hmm.
he's already done like the Cancer thing in previous lifetimes, and he comes here with Cancer energy again. And it's like
Hmm.
he wants to indulge within it, but then it's
Yeah,
like then there's part of him just like, ah, but I still got to do the business thing though. So
yeah,
that was probably like a big part of his life to where he had this like a cat and mouse game.
yeah, with the ladies, and yeah, definitely.
And yeah, that's true what you said about business partnerships and relationships, because the most well-known relationships of his that we know about, which I'm going to talk about right now, is Little Kim and also Faith Evans, and both of
Yeah,
them he's been on songs with both of them. You know.
yeah. So they're like, let me see. This is Lil Kim's chart. Now, we don't have the times of births of these people because it's not available. But if you're just completely stumped and you have no idea what, what time the birth is or the ascendant, you can always rotate the chart to the moon, like, and treat the moon as if it were the first house. It's still reliable. And the reason why that is because the reason why we make a big deal about the big three is because the ascendant is basically dividing between the earth and the sky. So you can think of your ascendant as kind of like your earth sign. Like I've had people ask me about, oh, well, how does earth play in astrology? The earth is like the ascendant and descendant and everything below it, and everything above it is the sky. And it's the most personal part of our personality because it moves the fastest. So it's very sensitive and it changes every 2 hours. Second in line that I think is the most important is the moon because it changes every 2.5 days. And so it's like one big massive clock. Like the moon is considered to be the minute to the hours. So whenever the moon goes through all 12 zodiac signs, the sun has moved through one zodiac sign. So it's kind of like a big clock. Like the big hand is the moon. When it makes its full circle, the sun has moved 30 degrees as if it were an hour on a clock. So I always pay attention to ascendant, moon, and sun in that order. And if you don't know the ascendant, then the moon is just as useful. And looking at Lil Kim's chart, um, her seventh house is Libra, according from the moon's perspective. Okay, Biggie's not a Libra, but look at her ascendant ruling planet, descendant ruling planet. Libra is ruled by Venus, and his Venus is in Gemini. It's like, okay, so maybe she'll get somebody, or she would be drawn to somebody who would have Gemini qualities, like somebody who's intellectual, funny, or smart with their words. Like that's her love language, and she's creative in that field too. Um, but who knows? Because we don't know her ascendant, but from the moon, you could still get little uh, bugs of information. Same thing with, let's see, Faith Evans. Uh, let's see, same thing. Like her seventh house is Leo. From oh no, I made a mistake. Hold on, let me change it because you're supposed to rotate it towards the hour. I mean, make the moon the first house. So let's see if I see anything. Okay, here it is. Her seventh house is Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars, and ta-da! Like her Mars is
Mars and
in
Pisces.
Pisces,
Yeah.
and he's a Pisces ascendant.
Hmm.
Boom, you
Yeah.
know. And then even with Synastry, you could see why they were so drawn to each other because her Rahu falls on Biggie's Jupiter, which is the body. So when people say like, how does he pull women? Like he's not even attractive. She found him attractive. Like when Rahu's on the ascendant lord or the ascendant, there's like this magnetic pull to this person.
Yeah, true.
Even if you're not attracted to them in the beginning, you just feel so compelled to be around them. So that's another thing that I noticed. And she has some Gemini stuff too. And who knows what her ascendant is. So we don't know how these planets are being arranged. And uh, quickly, I want to go over P. Diddy's chart again, no time of birth. So now remember we talked about seventh house being business partnership and Biggie's seventh house is Virgo. And look at all this Virgo that Puff Daddy has. So they had some kind of connection there too.
Yeah.
The nodes are involved, like his Rahu's in Pisces. Biggie's is a Pisces ascendant. So even him, he feels like, oh man, we're supposed to be teamed up. We're supposed to be together, collaborate with each other. It's that first house, seventh house dynamic. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got. I'm gonna go back to Biggie's chart. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting stuff about the relationships and partnerships and stuff. I'm definitely gonna show some stuff right now too.
Okay, should I stop share?
Yeah, one
Okay.
participant. Oh, it says multiple can share at a time, but I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. Let's uh where's my screen at? Oh, here it goes. Okay. So let me spill a little tea right now about about his relationships too with same those three people that he had the most controversial relationships with. So how do you move the can you move, oh here. Okay. All right, I need to move that. Can you see this thing, the little bar?
I don't see it. Only you can see it.
Oh, okay, cool, because it looks ugly. So all right. So, okay, so let's talk about Lil Kim. Once again, we don't have Lil Kim's birth time. I like that technique that you use with the moon. I
Mhm.
personally have never thought of using the moon, like, except when it comes to like thing if you want to see what's going on, yeah, in your romantic life, your emotional stuff, and your home life.
Mhm.
uh then that's when I use the moon on the ascendant. Usually when it's like general personality stuff and we don't have a rising sign, I'll use like a solar chart, I'll use the sun. But the
Mhm.
moon is still hella important, like
Yeah, very.
very telling. As yes, with the relationship thing, it tells a lot. Okay, so I'm just going off of Astro theme for all of these people. I could swear they had a rising sign and a birth time for P. Diddley a long time ago, but it looks like
You
it
know,
got.
they be doing shady stuff like deleting stuff. I'm thinking
They
these celebrities,
do.
yeah, they be trying to hide it. Like I saw that. I know
Yeah.
I know Kobe's a Capricorn rising, and I know Brandy was a whatever rising. They changed it to.
Then
We
they
had that
changed it.
conversation, and they changed
Yeah.
it.
I
So
could
okay,
I could swear they had P. Diddley as a Scorpio rising with Sun in the first house like a
really?
long time ago. Yeah, that was one of them I remember seeing like years ago. And now there's
Mm.
no ascendant with
All of a sudden.
his Scorpio ass trying to hide. Everybody, all these celebrities are getting hip to astrology now. Trust and believe, okay? A lot of them
Yeah,
do have astrologers too. Wink, wink.
yep.
So,
The Obamas, Beyonce, they all get readings. They all do it.
oh yeah, a lot of big name people get readings.
Yeah, I like the proud ones, like Janae Aiko, SZA. They're the proud ones. They don't hide.
Yes.
They embrace it.
And
So shout out to them if they see it.
and my girl Kaylani, she knows her shit too. Love
Okay,
her.
cool.
So anyway, yeah, so let's get into these relationships. Okay, so what's the tea? So with Lil Kim, why with Biggie and Lil Kim? She is tiny. Was she like 4 foot something? And he's like
Yeah.
6'3", like a fucking giant, towering. And he would pick her up with one finger and throw her, I'm pretty sure. But there was something there.
Yep.
So the main things with their chemistry, their synastry, I would say the glue that held them together and made them attracted to one another was most definitely because she has Gemini and energy and a Cancer stellium.
Cancer. Mm-hmm.
So, where did all this stuff fall in Biggie's chart? It fell in his well, her Venus is 18 Gemini. It's right here on his IC. And then
Mm.
her Mars and or her rest of her shit, her Cancer stuff
Yeah.
was is right here in his fourth and his fifth house. Okay, so when someone has something that falls on your IC or your fourth house, especially if it's a good planet like Venus or maybe the sun or the moon, you feel at home and comfortable with that person right away. And also, if people's planets fall in your fourth and fifth house, you are more likely to, if both people are able to produce a child and conceive a child, you can very easily conceive a child. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth house or the fifth house, and especially if both are activated within Synastry, yes. And we do know that Biggie and Lil Kim, they did conceive a child, but she didn't keep it, and that's something that always like really affected her, like really bad. Because then he went off and married Faith Evans, and had a kid with her. So um,
Do you
that's got to be devastating.
So she didn't keep it on purpose, or it
Yeah,
just
on
is?
purpose.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
think that has something to do with her Saturn falling in his fifth house?
It could. Let's see. Her
I know
son.
Saturn could be like depriving
Well, um,
or to reject or stop something.
it could. Faith Saturn fell right on his IC though.
Hmm.
So, but I think she has Saturn at 9 degrees of Cancer, and his Mars is 5 Cancer, his Venus is 4 Cancer. Like her Saturn does conjoin his Cancer planets
Mm-hmm.
like very closely, right? Those his
Mm-hmm.
love planets, Venus and Mars. Faith Evans, she has like, Venus and Mercury conjoined to like his Venus and his Mars.
Yeah.
So they're lighter
Lighter, yeah.
planets. Yeah.
That's
So
probably why he wanted to marry her instead, because they're more gentle.
yeah, it's more gentle. Saturn, if you have Saturn on somebody's like Venus or Mars or something like that, you really the other person can feel like you are really trying to weigh them down,
Yeah, it's
Even if,
suffocating.
yeah, like even if you don't say like, "Hey, I'm trying to lock you down and shit," like that person's going to
Mm-hmm.
get that feeling from you. So that could, and
Mm-hmm.
Saturn does block sometimes too. So that could be something there as well. But their attraction though is definitely from, yeah, she has Venus and Gemini, so she enjoys Gemini energy and love, and he does have some of that um through his sun sign. I will say this too, like Lil Kim has the South Node and Venus together at 18 degrees. The stupid website doesn't show the South Node, pisses me off every time.
I
No,
know.
it's here. We know this Mr. South Node is here. So right at the same degree, 18 degrees. So relationships for her, she tends to have very karmic relationships. People who have this conjunction, they can have some very heavy relationships with a lot of karma, a lot of drama, heavy like lessons to learn, and it's hardly ever lighthearted, and it sucks because Venus and Gemini does generally like things to be lighthearted. you
Yeah.
know they like to date around and have variety, but conjoined to the South Node though, like she can't help but go through stuff like she went through with Biggie that's very heavy, a pregnancy that was terminated, and
Mm.
him having multiple women, and she really loved him. She said she really really loved him, and then losing him, that's got to be difficult for a person just with that placement alone. But yeah, her Cancer energy interacted with his. Her son I think falls in his fifth house. Um, let's see, fifth house is 11 degrees of Cancer. Yeah, so her son is in his fifth house. So when somebody's sun falls in your fifth house, that's automatically you feel like an attraction to them. You have an affinity for them. Like you're romantically attracted to them. You feel like they're fun, exciting. They light up your life. So she definitely was fun to him, lit up his life and all that stuff. Another reason why I feel like he and Little Kim did not go through with the pregnancy that she had is because he has Chiron at 15 degrees of Aries. Um, and we don't have her birth time. This on Astro theme is based on 12 noon. So her moon could either be anywhere from 6 degrees earlier than this to 6 degrees after.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that her moon, um, whether it's like, 12 noon or around the middle of the day up until the evening, could be conjoined to his Chiron. And moon rules pregnancy and motherhood. So,
Mm-hmm.
and she could already have that placement in her chart. Let's see, 6 degrees would be 13. Not too close of a conjunction of, Moon and Chiron in her chart, but still, like, they're in the same sign. It might have an effect. But yeah, his could closely conjoin hers. And yeah, that can signify for some people, like, something to do with pregnancy and motherhood. One person wounds the other, when
Yeah.
there's that Chiron conjunction, unfortunately. So that could be why. But yeah, he found Little Kim to be fun and exciting and romantic, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and her Mercury is in the mix here. So, they had like really good communication, fun, playful, passionate communication. And yeah, he encouraged her, like his Mars on her Mercury. I'm sure they got into some heated ass arguments.
Yeah.
You and I talked about that earlier.
Yes.
Um
Yep.
that earlier he was saying that there was some statistics done by another professional astrologer, and they said that like a Mercury and Mars harsh aspect within is like a common divorce factor between
Yes.
people, because
It's true.
those arguments, they probably shit,
Mm-hmm.
we don't know, but yeah, but also because Venus is in the mix here, they probably were able to work it out and smooth it out right away, and make up with each other, you know what I'm saying? Wink, winkety wink.
Yeah, right.
But also Little Kim has Jupiter in Pisces. Her Jupiter is in his first house, likely conjoined to his ascendant. What does that mean when somebody's Jupiter is in your first house? This is another placement that
Mm-hmm.
makes you feel like someone lights you up. They light up your life. They bring you joy. Jupiter's joy. The fifth house is joy. She was a joy to be with and be around for him. Like she was fun to him, And plus Jupiter is a planet of like encouraging and inspiring, and a lot of times this Jupiter and ascendant thing, like there can be an exchange. Like she probably inspired and encouraged him with his career and told and gave him pep talks like, you're a badass, you're hella dope or whatever, you can do this. Word is
That's so
bond.
true.
Yeah, word is bond, son.
Yeah.
Like you got this, you're the king of New York, but all that stuff
Yeah.
like gassed him up. Like gassing someone up, Jupiter can be involved because if you think about it, the physical planet of Jupiter, it's made of mostly gases, right?
Yes.
And it's huge. Like
Yeah.
make you feel big. Someone can make you feel big and gassed up when you have a Jupiter exchange like that. Um, so her Jupiter on his ascendant, and then plus like he encouraged and inspired her with her career too.
Yeah. They inspired each other.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I actually really like that in Synastry.
Me
Um,
too.
I think it's
I've experienced that, so I know what you're talking about. The
so
Jupiter on
have
the
I.
ascendant, it feels so good.
Yeah, it's really dope. I've had it with someone before where both of our Jupiters landed in each other's first house. Like my Jupiter was right on his ascendant, but his is just like lands in my first. And both of us always compliment each other all the time. We tell each other, "You're the shit, you can do it, don't worry about anything. You're going to be fucking successful." Like, and it's just, yeah, it's really good for a change, instead of just having someone that's like, oh, it's just you're just there, whoever, just walk right by you like you ain't shit, it's like it's
Yeah.
refreshing to have this exchange. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they had a mix of things, because that Mercury and Mars, there was the shit
Yeah.
talking, you know
And that's what makes relationship complicated. It's like you got this good thing over here, but you got something troubling over there, and that's what makes it so hard. Like, oh, you're trying to find the right person.
I know. So, and then the last thing with him and Little Kim is her North Node and South Node were right here on his MCIC axis.
Mhm.
They're 18 degrees of Gemini and his is 20 Gemini. So, what this means is, let's see, which ones are they? Her North Node is Sag. Okay. So, South Node right here on the IC, this is definitely a soul connection. They feel this soulful bond with each other. They already feel comfortable at home with each other. Fourth house energy could be very like wifey. You're comfy with someone, you come home to them, you can easily
Mhm.
shack up with that person. So maybe in a past life, because her Venus and South Node were here, maybe she was his wife in a past life or vice versa.
Probably.
And then
Yeah.
they met each other again and it was like, hello, right away. I recognize you as a soul, like we belong, so there was that instant chemistry. Or I think, it took a little bit for them to really get together, if I remember the story correctly, but still it's like someone recognizes somebody right away.
Yeah.
Usually that's how that happens. And
Yeah.
then her North Node is on his midheaven. The midheaven is
Mhm.
career, it's fame, it's recognition. When especially if somebody's a celebrity or they're well known, the midheaven means a fucking lot. Okay. Like
Yeah. It
it's
represents fame and your public persona, and they were seen together a lot, so that makes sense that her North Node would just amplify that, them together,
yeah. And
in
then
public
plus
together.
like she helps to carry on his legacy. The 10th house, the MC could be your
Mhm.
legacy, and she helps to carry it on. She's always going to be associated with him. She's still like, I was watching interviews from like, as soon as like 2 years ago, 5 years ago, like, even before that, people always still ask her about Biggie. They're always associated with each other, and she always says great things. She carries his legacy on with her North Node on his MC. I think one thing I forgot to mention earlier with his chart and legacy is him when somebody has Neptune, the planet of like gods and illusion and like fantasy, glamorizing, what's the word I'm looking for, idolizing people. When they
Yeah.
have it in their 10th house or the sign of their 10th house or on their midheaven, a lot of times those are those people that even after they die they're even more famous, and it's like that forever, and people have t-shirts, with that person on
Yeah.
it.
They get idealized.
Yes, people like practically worship them, people are like, don't say anything bad about so and so. Like Aaliyah has this. She has
Yeah.
Neptune on her midheaven as well. And people don't talk about baby girl like that, and she's still on
Yeah.
t-shirts. Like their legacy lives on because they are now like a fantasy, like, almost
Yeah, they're
like a
fantasies now.
god. Yeah, almost treat like a god, or like their soul, their spirit is still alive.
Angel-like. Mhm.
Yeah. So, but that's him and Lil Kim. Now let's look at him and Faith Evans real quick. So what's good with him and Faith Evans? Once again, Gemini and Cancer stellium.
Yep. Ain't
Hello.
that something?
Yeah, Gemini and Cancer stellium. But see, he has the South Node in Cancer in the fifth house. Even though it doesn't conjoin any of these ladies' stuff by degree, it's still like that energy is so familiar to him and comfortable to him as a soul.
Mhm.
So, when their planets fall in that energy, it's like, hey, like this is my type.
Mhm.
He said he fell in love with Faith right away and then married her like 6 days or a week or something after they met. And I was trying to see like what do they have? There has to be some karmic like glue, in their synastry for that to happen. Well, Faith Evans, her south node is at 7 degrees of Capricorn. She also has, or I'm sorry, of Cancer. She also
Cancer.
has Venus and South Node together. So she has a lot of hella karmic relationships, just in general with whomever. Relationships are a huge, like, heavy thing for her. Faith is also a Gemini, and she has Venus and Mercury conjoined. So she, by nature, she would like relationships to be like lighthearted and, try this person, try that person, finger in every fucking pie like Geminis do. But, a finger in different people or whatever.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
That's an old saying, by the way, people. I'm not just being a perv, all right? I always say Gemini's finger in every pie. They're curious, but you could take that how you want it, how you want to take it. But it works either way. They're usually curious and want to try different people, but like relationships are going to always be something heavy and karmic for her. So yeah, her Venus and South Node are conjoined, but check this out. So her South Node is what, 7 degrees of Cancer, and Biggie has Venus and Mars 4 and 5 degrees of Cancer. So they also have some kind of South Node, like past life type of an energy, and they land
Yeah.
in his 4th house, but also, you know, the same sign as his 5th house. So that's, once again, I can easily and quickly shack up with you, knock you up, you know,
Yeah.
have
And
a
they probably
family.
had children together in the past life.
Yeah, they could
Like, for
have.
sure.
Yep.
And Mars and Venus conjunction, I forgot to mention, they can be impulsive and very decisive when it comes to relationship, which is why they get married quickly. It's like, I see that, I want that, and I'm gonna go after it.
Yeah, and then his
Mhm.
opposes Jupiter, which is also like, wee, let me jump in the
Yeah,
fire.
you
Like
know.
consequences, what are those?
Exactly. You know, who
Yeah,
cares, you
he
know?
said that his mom like lectured him about marrying Faith Evans so fast because he's like, yeah, we got married, then we got to know each other. And my mom would always talk shit and say, that's kind of backwards, you know? But he said, as soon as I saw her, I wanted her. Like I wanted to marry her, and that is his own Venus and Mars conjoined, opposing his own Jupiter. But then we've got her Venus in the mix, conjoined, and then, you know, with the South Node and then opposing his Jupiter. And also her North Node is like right on his Jupiter too. And North Node is your current life's karma, fate, and destiny and life path. And then in some forms of astrology, they say that Jupiter is your husband for a woman who's hetero, right? So yeah, North Node and Jupiter, that's like, you are destined to be my husband. So it's in her chart too. That's like, yeah, like, wanna get married, darling? Yeah, I'm down. Let's do this, you know?
Yeah.
Bam, there it is. So that's also what made them so attracted to each other and get married so fast. But yeah, just keep in mind, everybody, like, if somebody lands in your 4th and 5th houses, that's like right away, hey, I feel comfortable enough to be with you, be serious with you. And then also, if people's stuff lands in your 7th house, that's the house of marriage traditionally too, so you could feel like right away, like, I want to be with you. Faith doesn't have anything in Virgo. Let's see, her moon is in Libra. Yeah, her moon could land in his 7th house. I'm sure it does. If it's anything in Libra, it's in his 7th house by degree. So her moon, which is, you know, motherhood, womanly stuff and everything, comfort. Moon is the wifey for a man, you know. So if that lands in his 7th house of marriage, I mean, boom, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
That's why. So a lot of people will be like, oh, well, the reason why Biggie and Faith liked each other is because they're both Geminis.
Oh gosh.
Period.
That is so elementary and generic.
I know. Let's just let our Leo and 5th house energy just spill it. Just say it. Like, that's so beneath people who know real astrology.
We are so above.
Oh, these peasants, these sun sign peasants. They don't know anything. What do they know? So yeah, it's not just because they're Geminis. Like, look at all this shit. 4th and 5th house, like, hello. And the nodes, karma, you know, past lives, all of that stuff. Okay, now let me look at him and Diddy real fast. Of course, this isn't romantic, at least we don't think, but you know.
I would hope not.
It's a little odd. Just like how we were looking at like Jerry Heller and Easy.
Oh man, that was so funny. I'm like, what kind of vibe?
Like, I know. It's like, why are you paying attention to how clean and hygienic he is? Like, the first thing I noticed is he was so clean and good hygiene and smelled great. Like, what the fuck, Jerry?
I know.
What kind of business were you really trying to do with that man? Like, oh,
Oh,
and of course, because Saturn's in Aquarius right now, please no social justice warrior saying you guys hate certain groups and no, it's just jokes.
we're
Please shut
just
the fuck up.
joking. No discrimination here. I mean, whatever
No,
floats your boat.
no discrimination at all from either one of us. Please trust and believe if you really know us, okay? Just please save the social justice warrior talk, all right? Anyway, so now that that's out the way, and then plus a lot of people say that Diddy, you know, he doesn't seem like he's all the way straight. Let's just say that in a nice way. He doesn't
Hmm,
seem all the way straight. So that's where we're like, hello, what could really be going on? But anyway,
interesting.
sorry. So okay, first thing I noticed right away with Diddy and Biggie is check this out. Like his north node and south node are 19 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. Okay, so these are karma, fate, and destiny, and you become magnetically drawn to the people of your north and south nodes, right? And it's like an
Yeah.
exchange, just vice versa. You can be drawn to each other. So Biggie has, you know, ascendant 12 degrees of Pisces, moon 14 degrees of Virgo. So, excuse me. South node and moon together, that means that they could have been family in a past life. They could have
Oh,
they could
that's
have been
interesting.
family. Yeah, they could have been family. It could have been let's see, his South Node and Biggie's moon. Biggie could have been an important female figure in his life in a past life, or a mother figure or something like that. Someone very nurturing in his life. They could have really looked out for each other or something like that. So there's an automatic draw there and a feeling of familiarity and family. So, you know, that's why I listened to one of his interviews, Biggie's interviews, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't really listen to a lot of rap these days unless it's family shit." And they were like, "What do you mean by that?" He's like, "You know, like the bad boy family, like the
Yeah.
stuff that Diddy creates or whatever." So there was that type of a relationship with them too. And then plus because his south node is on his descendant, the 7th house. I think you mentioned something earlier already, Darren. Like they felt that business partnership, like they
Yeah.
should work together. You know, they should be partnered in some sort of way. If this was a romantic thing, a lot of people who have romantic relationships do have the north and south nodes in this position. And like on someone's ascendant and descendant, and they do feel like automatically we should be together. We should be in a relationship. But because both men are presumed to be hetero, it was more about business
Business.
partnership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
business and creativity because for Biggie, Moon rules his fifth. So I would say creativity, the arts, entertainment, business coinciding with each other. So maybe it was a familiar feeling for them both.
Yeah, I agree with that because Diddy even said that they wanted to create a movie on wax. You
Mm,
know, like
yeah,
when
I
when you
remember
listen to an album, it's like a movie. Like you can visualize a lot of things and stuff like.
that.
And
Hmm.
then he said when he first heard Biggie's rapping, he was like, "Yo, this is the dopest shit I ever heard in my life." Like, "Oh my god," like he was so excited and like, "Who is this guy? I have to meet him." That's because they had that nodal conjunction going
Hmm.
on right there.
Yeah.
Um just a magnetic draw. So,
And one other thing, like with the North Node being on Biggie's ascendant, I do know that when they first introduced him, they were like describing his look. It's like, well, he's kind of big, and P Diddy was like, "Well, how big are we talking about?" And then they also say, "You kind of got a lazy eye too," So P Diddy was like, "Well, let me see this fool," So when it comes to the body and the looks, he kind of helped him with his physical appearance and changing his style and clothing and tailor him up and having shades on. And even in the lyrics to the song, one of my favorite songs, I think it was Juicy. I believe he said, I'm big, black, ugly as ever. However, I stay Gucci down to the
Down to the
socks.
socks.
Like those lyrics was like so in sync with his. And this brings me back to what I was saying about his Raj Yoga with that debilitated Jupiter and debilitated Mars. How it's like undignified, but they're creating something fantastic,
Yeah.
and then uh Diddy, with Rahu on his ascendant is what's the word? Contributing to that, amplifying that, helping him with that. Even his helping him with his music. Like, we need to play more softer music on the radio. It can't just be mixtape rap, hardcore rap all the time. It's got to be something that the ladies would like.
Yeah.
So dress a certain way, look a certain way, sound a certain way, so it could be radio friendly.
Yeah, I agree that Diddy contributed to that because I heard him in an interview too say like, yeah, at the time Biggie came out, it was all about pretty motherfuckers, LL Cool
Yeah.
J, all oiled up and
Uh-huh.
sexy. He said that they have moisturized lips and shit, and then his son Biggie coming in with the chapped lips, looking like he's hot off the street.
Uh-huh. Right.
Oh my
He
god.
did say that.
He said pretty motherfuckers with moisturized lips. Like, oh my god, Diddy's definitely a Virgo moon. That's some Virgo moon shit talking right there,
I know,
And
just the detail, like analyzing everybody, like down to the T. Like, dang, you notice this mole on my face? Dang. Freaking Virgo noticing everything.
I know. I
You
feel so
notice my pores too? Like, shit.
yeah. They sure do. You feel seen around those Virgos. But yeah, so they were also both Virgo moons.
Mm-hmm.
So there's even more of that moon family familiarity. Like, I gotta look out for you.
Yeah.
We look out for each other type of a vibe. And that's why they were so close because the moon rules emotions and very close
Mm-hmm.
bonds with people. So that also comes into play with them. Now he has a Libra stellium, right? A Libra and Scorpio stellium. Well, he's got, yeah, Libra stellium and then Scorpio stellium. Yeah, 3 planets. Okay, so for Biggie in his chart, Libra and Scorpio are both considered to, well, first of all, in the Placidus chart, Libra falls in his 7th house. That's partnership, right? So we talked about that earlier. So they naturally felt, because of those planets there too, uh we got to work together, we're willing to compromise and bounce ideas off each other and like really collaborate. It's collaborations. Now, in the whole sign chart, his 8th house is Libra. And in the Placidus chart, his 8th house is Libra, but also includes Scorpio. So either way you look at it, Diddy has planets that land in Biggie's 8th house. The 8th house is gaining and profiting off of other people, especially off of collaborations, projects. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
they both did profit from each other, working with each other and working together. But with Diddy having planets landing in his 8th house with either house system, Diddy is still profiting hella off of Biggie even after he died. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the 8th house is inheritances. When you inherit money from somebody, like through a settlement, or like after they die, their will and all that shit, like. But Diddy, he owned Bad Boy, and he owns, I'm sure, has ownership at least partially over Biggie's legacy. So he's still profiting hella off of Biggie, with all that 8th house energy. The last thing I'll point out is his Mars, Diddy's Mars is 29 degrees of Capricorn. And then Biggie's north node is 27 degrees of Capricorn. So with somebody's Mars landing on your north node, Mars is like physical drive and it's real
Mm-hmm.
pushy energy. He really pushed Biggie towards his north node, which is his destiny. Like,
Yeah.
yo, man, come on, you got to do this. Biggie was about to go back to the streets, go back to still selling drugs, and
That's right.
he was like, no, your purpose, like, it's with rapping, with music, like I gotta pull him more up towards his destiny. So that Mars was like, bing, 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 like,
Yeah,
poking at him, agitating him, like, come on, man, let's do this, let's go.
yeah.
So
Let's
that's
make
very
this money. That's what I would say that does. Let's make this
yes,
money this way.
it's in Capricorn, money.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good Mars too.
Yep, let's go get this money. So yeah,
Mhm.
that is Diddy and Biggie's relationship. Just a few points. Like I don't want to make this 3 hours long, so I'm sure people could see more and whatever. But that's what it is with their relationships and stuff. Um,
Mm.
okay, I'm passing the mic. You got anything else to add or elaborate on?
Yeah. Could I share the screen?
Word up. Hold on. How do you get out of shit? No, no, no. Pause share or
it, it's
stop share.
stop share. There you go.
Okay. All right.
So let me go back really quickly. So it's not like 5 hours long, like you said. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that it's really important to know if it's a day chart or a night chart. So when a person has a night chart, like Biggie and Eazy-E, which I think we'll do later, they tend to it adds more positivity when it comes to planets like Venus and Mars are considered to be night charts. So they tend to do Venus and Mars things better than the average person because these are night planets. And if a person is born in the day, then it's the other way around. It's Saturn and Jupiter, I believe. Yeah, Saturn and Jupiter. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because obviously Biggie was a Venusian Marsy person, with entertainment, creativity, the arts, women, relationships, sex, and it's in the fifth house too. So really creative person. In fifth house and 11th house, celebrities who have that, I noticed that they're always in the entertainment because fifth house is supposed to be your own creative juices, your own entertainment. And the 11th house is your fan base, like your fans and entertainment and being a part of an audience. So you kind of have to be able to be a performer. So fifth house and 11th house, they kind of go hand in hand when it comes to the entertainment industry. It's more than just the 10th house. Like, yeah, the 10th house is cool for like being famous, cool. Like, but 11th house and fifth house, if you're like trying to be an artist, then it tends to go that way. Or people who are into politics, I notice there's always like an 11th house, fifth house dynamic because they're entertainers too, in a way, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Performing, it's like, hey, this is what I can do for the people. So it's like fifth house is my creative project, and the 11th house is like, hey, here it is. I finished my creativity. Now I get to dance in front of you guys, and you guys get to applaud me for it. So I just wanted to throw that in there too. And I think that's about it. I think there was something else. So I wanted to mention the day chart, night chart thing. We didn't talk about Biggie's death, did we?
No, not yet. I wanted to see if there's anything else you wanted to cover before we get there.
Okay. Do you mind if I bring it up now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All
What's
right.
what's popping in there?
Okay. Biggie's death. So I'm not an expert on death. However, there was some alarming things in this chart. Like, for one thing, Rahu and Mars in the seventh house, right on top of his Pluto. Now, and the south node in the first house. Now, this south node is always like deteriorating some kind of way, like to take you away from something. Now, most people will attribute to the eighth house being the house of death, and it does play a role with death. However, the seventh house traditionally, like in traditional astrology, the seventh house was thought of to be a house of death because the first house is birth, and this is where the sun is rising, and the seventh house is where the sun is setting. So it would signify death. And they looked at the eighth house as the house of inheritance, which is still considered to be inheritance, but the things that happen after you die, like what happened after you die. So with Mars, with Rahu and Mars being in the seventh house, I feel like that played a role with his death. simultaneously with the South Node being in the first. It's like, you know, I'm out of here. You know, I'm not him saying that, but the universe is saying you gotta go. You know, and then all these planets along with it, all the fame, because these are nice planets like Venus and Mercury and all the pleasures and the socialness. And it's like, you know, this is, it's kind of like, and then the new moons represent beginnings and the South Node represents endings. So it's kind of like, this is the beginning of the end symbolically.
Wow.
So that's kind of like what I was thinking, like new moon and South Node, beginnings and endings. Like this is the beginning of the end. So that's kind of what I was thinking too. And then he, how old was he? He was
I think
20,
24.
24, yeah. So what happens is that when a person is 24 years old, they go through what they call a first house perfected year. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah.
perfections, but the first house and the first house lord is like really sensitive. Like transits, like the transits of Jupiter, any planets that hits his natal Jupiter or his ascendant. And then there's monthly perfections too. So he died in March, early March. So if we were to go like May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. So something about his public reputation. Pluto was there. That can contribute to death too.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of different things that I notice in regards to death. Now again, I'm not an expert at death. I don't try to find it, but unless someone actually dies of that year. But let me see, was something in the solar return?
Yeah, I do the same thing. After the fact, then I'll investigate, but I don't look
Yeah,
and say, "Oh, when are they gonna die?" That's not cool at all.
yeah. So this solar return was a bit alarming too, with because again, like the seventh house was traditionally thought of as death because it symbolically means sunset. Sun is setting, the king is dying. So sun in the seventh house, and then Pluto opposing it. That kind of was like eerie to me too.
Yeah.
Even natally by transit, Sun opposing his Sun, and Sun represents your willpower and your vitality. So when it comes to life and death, it gets super complicated and super tricky. But if you're just a weirdo like me and you just want to know about your death, then there's four places or five things that you look at. You look at the first house because it represents your body and your health. You look at the seventh house because it represents endings and sunset. You look at the eighth house because it represents trauma and death and rebirth. So what happens after you die? But for some reason, they look at the second house, so one, two, seven, and eight. And the reason why they look at the second house is because eighth house is supposed to be things that generate like rebirth. Like when you're having sex, you're actually trying to give birth to something. And second house is the opposite of that. So it's like supposed to be a house of death as well. So it's and the lords of these houses. So in his case, what would cause death would be Mars and Mercury. So mainly houses 2 and 7, and Mars was in the seventh house when he died. But Mars could trail here a whole bunch of times too. There would have to be other techniques like, I don't know, progressions and solar arc and
Yeah.
perfections, and you have to like look at a million different things that could support that. And Mars was retrograding too, so that, and again, when a planet is retrograde, that means it's closer to the Earth, so you feel the intensity of that planet even more so. So it has to be a lot of different things, and this is why it gets so exhausting, and this is why I don't waste my time trying to figure out death. Not only is it weird and creepy and depressing, but
Yeah.
it's exhausting.
I hear you.
Yeah. So that's my take. Whew.
Well, I look at people's transits or the time that they passed away. I don't look ahead either because yeah,
Mm,
that's where the shit gets creepy. I like to look at the charts of people that have already passed on and look at the transits the day that they passed and
Yeah.
up to it to see, just to have a greater understanding and for closure too. For closure meaning understanding that it was just their time, because your
Yeah.
astrological chart is your personal clock. And a lot of times when people pass away, there's exact conjunctions and alignments that show that the hands on the clock were in certain placements, meaning it was just that person's time, you
Yeah.
know, just to gain acceptance of it. Because personally, I am a person that it's hard for me to accept death of people. It's very painful. And, you know, so I know how other people can feel like that too. And just want to know, like, why did this happen? Or, you know, oh, their life was cut short, why, you know, and just to see through astrology, yeah, it was their time, and just to try to understand why it was their time too, like, is there, you know, a lesson or something like that,
Yeah.
as a soul that they had to learn, did they complete their soul's mission before they passed, no matter what their age was, you know. So that's the reason why I look at the charts. But yeah, motherfuckers that try to predict death are creepy and it's wrong. So don't ever watch their videos, even though some of them have been deleted off of YouTube. We're not naming any names, but you know, no shade or anything. But you know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
don't go there.
Right.
That's why people say astrology is evil. Like that
I
shit is
know.
evil. That shit is evil.
It
Don't just
depends on how you use it. You can use anything as evil or good.
yeah. Astrology is the devil. All
I've
right,
heard that
so
before.
course. Mama said it's the devil. So here is I already have Biggie's transits the night that he passed away. He passed away the early morning of March 9th, 97. It was like just after midnight,
Yeah.
Pacific time, right?
Yeah, I think it was 12:30
Yeah, it was
p.m.
like 12:30, 12:45, something like that.
Yeah.
So this is what I noticed. Of course, same thing, that Mars and North Node conjunction, and Mars was
Mhm.
retrograde, which can
Ugh.
mean in this case it can mean retaliation, like things coming back to you.
Yeah.
Um from the past, you know. Mars is violence, anger, war, weapons, you know what I'm saying. Conjoined to the North Node, it was just his fate and destiny, because they both align with his Pluto can rule death, violence, trauma, you know. Mars and Pluto, anything together, I don't really like to see personally.
Me either.
It's scary shit, and I will keep it real about that too, because you know what, seeing this in your chart or someone else's lining up and knowing about it, and you know, then playing it safe and just kind of chilling, you know, hiding out, that can save somebody's life. Like no bullshit,
Yeah.
one of my family members, I saw that there was a Mars and Pluto conjunction transit happening for them one night, so I just randomly called them like, hey, how are you, what's going on? And they just spilled all these issues that were going on. They were being physically abused by their spouse, and excuse me, then their spouse came home when I was on the phone with them and started acting crazy, so I headed over there, and that spouse pulled out a motherfucking shotgun while I
Wow.
was there, and nothing happened, but still they intended to have something happen. So you don't want to
Wow.
play with Mars and Pluto transits. If you see this,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, like it is real. It does equate to
It's
stuff
very
like
real.
this happening. No joke. Okay, so yeah, that it was just his destiny to have violence happen to him, unfortunately, right? um
Yeah.
Also, I noticed that Pluto is right here on his Neptune being his ascendant ruler. So Pluto, the planet of death, you know, and violence and trauma, on the ruler of his body, you know. So
Mhm.
that's one factor. And then plus, as Darren mentioned, Pluto opposing his natal sun. The sun can rule your vitality, you know, your physical body and stuff too can be associated with the sun, you can say. So Pluto aspecting that at the same time, you
Yeah. It's
know.
your soul,
Yeah.
your spirit. So yeah.
Yeah, and then
Definitely.
Neptune transiting Neptune.
Yeah.
Going to his north node, which is karma, fate, and destiny. Um, so Neptune, I've seen Neptune associated with transits with people passing away. Neptune, it can carry you into the spirit realm. Neptune rules the spirit realm. Your soul, your spirit also is associated with Neptune. So, and it dissolves too. It can
Mhm.
dissolve you,
Yeah.
unfortunately, dissolve your vitality. But yeah, Neptune on the north node, sometimes that is like a fated, like, carry me back home in spirit, like to the spirit world. Okay, so that's how I see that. And then Venus rules his eighth house of, unfortunately, of death. And she was exactly conjoined his ascendant on that day too. So the
Yeah.
ruler of the eighth conjoined to the ascendant, the eighth house rules death, that
Hmm.
was there. And then check this shit out. Dun dun dun.
Right.
Eclipses 1997. Solar
Mhm.
eclipse March 9th,
March 9th. Oh, snap.
1997.
We just talked about that.
Yeah,
Right, this is, yeah. We
March
just
9th.
talked about that.
An
Wow.
eclipse on his ascendant. Okay, solar eclipse.
Wow.
Now, I don't want people to freak out and think every time there's an eclipse in your sign, you're gonna fucking die. But there just has to be a certain alignment. Like, he just had so many factors, so many alignments all happening at the same time that were
Same time,
fatal,
yeah.
and then there's an eclipse on that day. That's a fated karmic event that's destined to happen, that impacts the body and the soul. It's usually like the soul with eclipses, but the
Hmm.
body with it being in the sign of his body.
Hmm.
And what's trippy about this too is that eclipse is at 19 degrees of Pisces, right? Well, Lil Kim has her Jupiter at 17 Pisces. So the eclipse hit her Jupiter. We don't have her birth time to know what house Jupiter rules in her chart, where the ascendant landed. I mean, where the eclipse landed, but it landed on a planet in her chart, which activated it to be like a karmic event for her. Faith Evans has Mars at 23 Pisces. So the
Hmm.
eclipse hit her Mars. Um, his mom, shit, I thought I had
I
her chart
never
up.
I never seen the mother's chart.
I had it up earlier. I guess I accidentally closed it out, but she has Mars. I think it's like 22 Pisces, or it's like a 20 something Pisces, his mom's
Mm.
chart. So that eclipse landed on her Mars, which might rule, a certain place in
S-
her chart.
Maybe male sons or something, or could be anything if you don't know the time.
Yeah. And then Diddy, his North Node, 19 degrees of
Hmm.
Pisces.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a fated, destined, very karmic, world rocking, life changing event for him. You know,
Yeah.
and then so it was at that degree, and then let's see, the North and South nodes were in the sign of Pisces at that time. Or the South node was, right. The
Yeah.
South node can taketh away, and once
Yeah.
again,
That's what I was saying earlier.
I don't want people to get scared, and think, "Oh my god, the south node's in my sign, I'm going to die." No, not every time. Like I said, it's like he has all these factors, just several of them all aligned at the same time. I mean, if you ever find that to be, you have a lot of factors lining up that are not so great, a lot of transits at the same time, it's probably best for you to just play it cool and maybe hide at home if you like, I'm not gonna lie
Yeah.
about that, but still, and also he had um Chiron was in Scorpio at the time. Scorpio itself rules death. This was transiting through his eighth house in this chart. So that could be wounding some sort of way, that has to do with death. Um, you know what I'm saying? So that's that. And then for Diddy, he is a Scorpio. He's got planets in Scorpio. So Chiron continued to travel through Scorpio even past Biggie's death for, like, several years after. So that's why Diddy was like so hurt and affected by it. And he made that song, I'll Be Missing You. Like, It was
Oh yeah.
very hard for him to get over. Chiron rules pain and suffering, so it being in Scorpio, hitting all his Scorpio shit, like, yeah, Biggie's death really impacted him. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Diddy shady, he set Biggie up and all this shit. I don't know if I fully believe that. I'd have to investigate further, but just
Yeah, I don't know.
looking at these transits, this was a very karmic event for Diddy. It rocked his world, and it did hurt him. It did hurt him in some sort of way. So, yeah, those are all the transits that I see that are very significant for when Biggie passed away. And once again, he's got Neptune up here in the 10th house. So he still lives on in spirit. Even in spirit, your spirit, Neptune in the 10th house, career, like, you know, he
Yeah,
lives on. He lives on. Period.
there are 2 points I'm going to make. When a person dies, for some reason, their charts is still alive and activated. Like
They
even
are.
now, like we're having eclipses going on the axis of Gemini and Sagittarius right now, and
Yep.
he has personal placements there in Gemini. It was the same thing when the nodes were in Capricorn and Cancer, and all this garbage came out about R. Kelly and Aaliyah, and they're both Capricorns. And
Yeah.
it just seems to be like no matter, you know, how many years go by, your chart is like forever. And even your image, like you'll start seeing more videos and posters or movies being made about you when certain transits happen. It's
Yeah.
interesting. And another, I want to make this last thing, make this last statement about the eclipses. Not all eclipses are bad. What makes eclipses bad is when there are cruel planets with it, like Saturn and Mars and Pluto. In Biggie's case, it's a malefic planet, a retrograde Mars on his Pluto. Like that's just too much. Like and then the transit of Pluto squaring his ascendant, opposing his sun. Like he just had a lot of things against him. So it's just not something to worry and be fearful of. You just have to look at every nuance of your chart, like your personal planets, your ascendant, and pay attention. Is it malefic planets along with the eclipse? Like I've experienced great eclipses where Venus was involved, and I had a great experience with a loved one or a family member. Like there's good ones. Some people there sometimes I've seen eclipses happen in their fourth house or their IC, and they get an opportunity to move. Or it's a lunar eclipse, so it's a fourth house, 10th house thing. You may have a new job and it's great, and then you change your place of living. So eclipses can be good. It just depends on things that are aspecting the eclipses. Maybe Jupiter is involved, or Venus is involved, or Mercury. But it does become scary when it's cruel planets like Pluto, Mars, and it's hitting you in a nasty way, like hitting your Saturn or whatever. Then it could be detrimental and scary.
Oh yeah. Yep. No doubt about that. Eclipses, yeah. I when I do like career readings and love readings for people, especially, I look at the eclipse cycles and let them know, like, hey, you can have some really dope opportunities in either area of your life open up. Even when eclipses hit your natal sun, that's like you can have some big career change. You can have some really like awesome things, opportunities come to you. You're opened up to more in the world, so they don't always mean you're gonna die, but however, it's just know that the hands of fate are definitely striking you when there's
Hmm.
an eclipse on you. And but he just had the hands of fate in many other like tragic places, violence and death and all this shit. Like, they just were not in good places. And yeah, I agree with you that the chart lives on. Yeah, the eclipses we've had in Sag and Gemini, I'm sure they've still brought up some things about Biggie, in the news, or at least within like the realm of hip hop and stuff. And then same with Aaliyah, her midheaven is in Sagittarius. And yeah, she's a Capricorn and she has Cap in the 11th house. So like during those eclipses, I was watching Aaliyah's chart and I was seeing how, yeah, the stuff came out about R. Kelly, which included her because the eclipses were hitting her chart still. And
Yeah,
then also
both of
like
them.
her stuff with her legacy is still coming up. Like they made a MAC makeup line with Aaliyah's, signature, and it was dedicated to Aaliyah. I think it was during those eclipses.
Those eclipses, yeah.
Yeah, and then the nodes just switched again, and to her 10th house of career, and there's more stuff coming out. They're trying to get her catalog, her music catalog, available to stream digitally because, like, I don't know, all this shit with like her.
It's hitting her midheaven and Venus too, so it would make sense that all the Venusian, artsy, music, beauty stuff would be amplified more than usual.
Yeah, yep, beauty, yeah. So they came out with that makeup line, and now they're really working hard to get her music available on streaming because the only way that people can listen to it is if they have any back in the day MP3 files from like fucking LimeWire or Napster,
Oh yeah,
you
I
know?
still do. Hey, I got her actual album, and,
Yes, me too. I,
her music has never left my phone.
oh,
It,
really?
yeah, it's been in my phone ever since I got one, like in the early 2000s. Like it's never left.
Dang, Taurus life for real.
Yeah.
Keep it
Yeah.
forever. Yeah, and so or if you buy her CDs, but even those are scarce,
Mm,
and very rare. So yeah, like your legacy lives on after your death and it's shown in your chart. It's definitely shown in Biggie's chart too. And hopefully, his legacy it still remains a good one. He's still gonna be looked at as an icon like forever because of that Neptune in the 10th, I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is it, you guys. Darren and I have actually been chatting for fucking ever.
I
I
know.
lose my voice.
I know.
Uh,
We were catching up.
yeah, it's great to have Astro buddies, to speak the language to. So, of course, if you guys seen anything in the chart, any of the charts or relationships or anything, drop comments, let us know what you see so we can
Yeah.
all learn here. And yes, thanks Darren
Yeah.
for the
You're
Astro
welcome.
homie chat for another one of our favorite rappers.
Yeah.
And let people know where they can find you so they can get hooked up with the knowledge and all that stuff.
Yeah. All right, cool. Oh, we got to say one more thing. We got to give a special shout out to Nadia Shah because we all know that she loves Biggie. And yeah, so shout out to you, Nadia Shah. I learned a lot from you, and we did it just for you.
Yes. Oh my God. How can I forget? I did think about her when I was getting ready for this video, and she named her dog Biggie. So she's
Yeah.
a Biggie fan. She's another astrologer, like a dope ass OG.
Yep.
A lot of us have learned from. So yes, shout out to Nadia. Hell yeah.
Cool.
So where can people find you, Darren?
For now, they could just find me on astrological.com. I do have my own YouTube channel, but there's hardly anything on it. And I'm at the moment trying to create my own website. So if anybody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody to make a website, please help me out because I'm, not tech savvy at all. So I need help. Somebody help me.
Okay, you want to put any of your socials out there or anything? Or you
Oh
trying
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
to
It's my Instagram is Darren Starr 12. And my Facebook, you could just find me under my real name. It's Darren Collins. It's easy to spell DARRENCOLLINS. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram. That's pretty much it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. And we will see you in the next one. If you have any suggestions also of any other like hip hop artists or anything you guys want us to look into, drop those too.
Yes, please.
Peace.
Peace.